right back. We don't have music, I beg. The KPLC, the Kenya Power has done the not powering in my house. I hope it's not that one for Sidri daily rationing. I really need to edit this podcast and post, but But anyway, if you're just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast coming to you right here on TBC Radio every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. with yours truly, Olive Orao. And if you miss the live action right here, you can always get it on TBC Radio. You can always get it on buyolive.com. The link is in my bio, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is Olive Orao. And for 300 shillings for members, you can get the episode every single episode per month. So it will be uploaded there. The episodes go up on Tuesdays because we're doing them on Mondays, and so editing nini. But also, if you just want the second half of the show that we've just gotten into, you can always find it where you stream your podcast. I'm sorry. You can always find it where you stream your podcast. Where you stream your podcast, that is could be on Spotify. Yeah. Anywhere else. And today we are discussing the privilege of respect. Can you afford standards when you are desperate? And we've had a whole conversation in the first part of the show, and now we're getting into the podcast part of the show. But first, I'd really like a word from our sponsors. The In All Honesty podcast on TBC Radio is brought to you by Olive. If you are dreaming of starting your own podcast, By Olive offers expert podcast consults to help you set up and grow your show within no time. Also, By Olive provides emotional intelligence coaching to sharpen your self-awareness and equip you with tools to manage your relationships both at work and at home. And get mental health support from highly qualified and certified psychology and adjacent specialists who come highly recommended by Olive. Find everything you need to thrive at buyolive.com. The link is in my bio, so you can always check us out and see what it is that we offer that you will need. And now we are in the second part of our show, which is the podcast part of the show. This is the In All Honesty podcast. I'll just read some of the comments that we had here from the first half. Nevin Luna, you're saying, hey there. Yes, I am. About people asking about your relationship status. Yes, it is very common. So I don't know why people are so bothered by relationship status for people. Honestly, it has been a discussion at work. But anyway, in the first hour, we were talking about how when you're desperate, can you afford to have standards? And this is in relation to, it started with corporate, like the way we've seen people move, not people, but me specifically, the way I've been able to move in corporate. I was thinking, maybe was I able to quit jobs and just move around because I have the privilege of maybe having, maybe I have a home to go back to, even if I felt like that was not an option. There's also the idea of domestic workers, when it's flipped and now you're the employer. Do you treat your employees with the respect they need? Do you give them the things you demand from your employer? Do you give them medical cover? Do you give them off days? Do they have access to overtime in case they get, and just a good working environment? Because that is something that we tend to overlook. And it's a conversation that has come up on Facebook a lot of times, because people are usually like, hey, all of you are talking about women's rights. What about your house help back at home? Does the women's rights apply to her? So that is the conversation we were having. And also we've done a bit of analysis and our thoughts on, it's related, I promise, just the risk appetite. We were looking at Murugi Muni and how she can move the way she moves because she has a rich husband. This is something that she had said, but the conversation came in from the It's Related, I Promise episode where Jules had mentioned it. They were talking about whether you in the gig economy, there are some things that you can do just because you have backup. And for people who don't have backup, then what happens? And that is something that I've also asked. When we say people who can take risks is because they have been, what is it called? People who take risks is because they have cushion. What about those who don't have cushion? What do we tell them? Because I feel like telling people to take risks cuts across. And also, I think it's Mkasi Love who said the risks have to be taken either way. Like, there's no shortcut to it. The risks have to be taken. Dolia tunasema tunakuona. I don't know who you're seeing. I think Lau, you're saying, I think I am today grateful for where I work today, whether married or single. Your work is what will sell you. I love that. And I really hope I hope it's upon everyone else. I really hope everyone gets to work at a healthy place so they feel what it's like. And you continue to say, I have quite a job before. I have quite a job before because of inequality and bullying. Oh, you've had quite a job before. Okay, sawa. I get it. But at the end of the day, I hope everyone works at a place where it's healthy. So just to get the feeling of what it feels like to work in a healthy place, because my last job was a really, really healthy place where it was everyone minded their business. Me, I'm very big on people minding their business. Outside work, whoever Olive is dating, whether she takes daytime naps, whether she goes around running naked at night, should be none of your business, honestly. It should be none of your business. And that people make it your business, their business, is really wild to me. Reggie _ doing things, you're saying, as a single woman with I can't go home. As a single woman I can't go home. My risk appetite has to be well calculated, but I just can't afford that. That's me. All my risks have been calculated, and sometimes things take longer. And that's what I said. I really feel you, because I've also been the calculated risk type, but I also feel like I really want to do that. I really want to have a one-time experience in life where I go all in, I don't overthink it, I gamble everything and just wait for the returns. I really want to experience that at least once in my life. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know what it is, but I really want to experience it. But yes, I get you. Calculated risk is also something that you take, and that you basically have. Like a lot of us, I think we have to take calculated risks so that you're gambling in just enough. And I think this we've discussed in the debt episode, where you only give what you're willing to lose. So like if you're going into trading Bitcoin or something, you only are trading what you're willing to lose, because at the end of the day, if it goes down, let it not go down with you, right? I think Lawi, you were saying, I meant I have quit. Oh, quit. Okay, I meant I have quit a job before because of inequality and bullying. Where texting in traffic. Oh, you're the one who's kwamad there on Thika Road, Mombasa Road. We usually have a traffic update when we begin. I also appreciate you being in. I really appreciate you being here while doing your commute. A lot of people just be out here moving. Oh, I'm dropping the kids at school. Oh, I'm headed to work. Oh, I just woke up. I'm doing things. So at the end of the day, I really appreciate you being here. This is the second part of the podcast, and we usually have a confession. We usually have confessions, and then we just talk about it from there on. And today the topic is the privilege of respect. Can you afford standards when you are desperate? So let's do our first confession here. Someone says, I hate my job. I am overworked and underpaid. I work a minimum of 50 hours a week, and some weeks even 70 plus. I am on salary, so I get no extra pay. I work every other weekend and holidays as well. I just can't find something that pays remotely this close. I don't even make that much. What are some jobs I can just apply without needing 5 years of experience in the field and all that? So this is just the worst, because even when I was doing my promo gigs, has everyone gone through the promo phase? Yeah, you are a promo girl or a promo boy. What is wild to me when I got in is that I got people who were like older in that scene, and I was being told there are people who this is their full-time job. I'm like, wait a minute, what you mean? There are people who promo jobs are their full-time job, and they're actually feeding families on it. And I was like being the supervisor, I'm literally this doing what we're doing, where you're in the sun all day on your feet. This is what people like eat with. And that's when I think that's also the first time I started to clock my privilege. I was like, yo girl. And also Randoms by Mary. I don't know if you know her. You can follow her on Instagram here and also on TikTok. Randoms by Mary also takes us through some of the times when she's applying for jobs. And it's this series where she's saying she's applying for jobs without a university degree. That is also something that I overlooked for a very long time. But I realized, as much as I've never directly used my university degree, it literally has gotten me in rooms. Because there are shallow HRs who are just like, do you have a degree? And that's all. Even if you have a degree in, I don't know, animal feces, I don't know, you have a degree, you can get in. So I've realized that those are some of the privileges that we have, and we just don't realize. And for someone like this who's working, imagine the times you're working 70 plus hours in a week, and this is a constant salary. So it's not something that you can say, I can work hard so I can get commissions, and the commissions will probably substitute. No, you just have a flat salary. With all these conditions set, you have a flat salary, and this salary that you're earning, no one else, or rather you can't find anyone else who's giving you close to this salary with these conditions, these very bad conditions. So you can imagine there are people who are in the same conditions as you in other places, working for less money than you, and so you can't leave. And what was it, Wangoi, who was saying here that you can, let me just find it, that for her it's not an option. It's not an option to go back home as a single woman. And for me, I usually feel like that's not an option in my case, because also, guys, being a single woman in your 30s, let me tell you, home is not a place you just want to go to. And being a single woman in your 30s who's in the art scene, you're not even trying to like go for big money. You're not even rich. Let me tell you. You can create a whole reality series from your family when you get together. But yeah, so with this person, I can see that sometimes you do not have it in you. And what would I tell this person? Can I tell this person, just quit and see? Because I feel like sometimes that's all it takes. It just takes that leap of faith. Like, no, nothing is ever really known. Nothing is a good decision or a bad decision. At the end of the day, you just have to, you gotta do what you gotta do. So I'm also just thinking, like, guys, we're talking about, can you afford standards when you're desperate? Right now, you really need to feed. And I'm saying this knowing that some of us have the privileges of not having a mouth to feed. Because me, I've always said, I think from right about maybe 3 years ago or so, and I cut off all, I don't know what I would call it. Would I call it black tax? I would say I'd call it black tax. Because I looked at my farm and I was like, whether you guys can survive, you have means coming in. Why should the little money that I get try and split it 17 ways? So for me, I stopped paying any money back home. So I don't have black tax and I do not have a child. So no one is relying on me. My money is my money. My money comes in and I choose to do with it what I choose to do with it. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's a privilege that other people might not have. And for someone who doesn't have that privilege, for someone who everything is looking to them, can they take the risks? Do they have... And even sometimes we're not talking about risk per se, sometimes it's just simple things like standards. Can I have self-respect? Because we've talked about self-respect. Can I have self-respect when I am completely desperate? There's a child who's waiting for me to be fed. There's a child who's waiting for me to pay rent. Like, we cannot sleep outside. Can I take these risks? What happens on the other end? But then again, we also agree that there is nothing, we can never know what's going to happen on the other end unless you do something, unless you actually take the risk and go to the other end. So at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do. And I have another confession here. It's the second confession. It's very long, but I also cut it short. I tried to just put the most important parts. Let's get into it. The second confession reads, I am scared of taking risks in my 20s. Should I take risks? Yes. In fact, in your 20s, the more. In fact, in your 20s without a child, even more. Okay, let me not talk without reading the confessions. So the confession is, I'm a 21-year-old. I have finished undergraduate in psychology and now I'm jobless. I want to pursue post-graduation in MBA so I can have some respect and one degree to earn money, because screw psychology. Wasted 3 years for a worthless degree. Psychology is not easy, eh? But tell us guys, what umesoma psychology? Kumbe is looking bad. Hey Nedi, I haven't seen you on Instagram. Welcome. Everyone I know are doing something they like. You know, people say take risks in your 20s. Like, majority of successful businessmen and rich men have taken risks in their lives. Because of my past full of failures in anything I touch, I'm scared to do anything and looking for easy path and following the hard. The hard to mean like a pack of sheep. MBA, then job, then die. So there's a way in which your life is just set out. I can't possibly think of getting a loan or wasting my dad's money so much. My father has gone mad. I fear for my future. I have so much in mind, but financially I'm scared to take risks. My parents are getting older and mad and unable to think properly. I can't live with them anymore. Anything I ask, they just get angry. It's frustrating. I'm scared so much. I am terrified of taking risks. Everyone I know is winning, going abroad, getting best universities, taking loans, getting working experience. I have wasted 3 years in a degree which I wish I could burn. I need just good MBA, but I am thinking I might fail entrances because it's hard for me. I am so dumb in studies. Who is that? Was it Wangoi? Who is it that clocked? Was it Doliat? In the first hour, someone said there's also, what did you call it? Learned helplessness. There's also learned helplessness. Because honestly, when I was reading this, no, let me hear your thoughts on this confession, honestly. When I read this confession, I thought, babe, you really want to be the victim that hard? You really can't just see yourself trying, just try something, try. It's just like, if there's your parents, you can borrow the money, but they get so angry. And I can understand when home is not just a safe place to be anymore, because your parents like grow more. It's like parents had us and they wanted to take care of us and then throw us to the world and just not let us come back. Like, we were supposed to take care of them at some point. So if you're getting to that point where you can't take care of them and you're already old enough, they have this resentment. Like, I invested so much in you, you've gone to school, you've paid and you can't just bring home, you can't just support us in our old age. So there's a lot of resentment that comes from families, that comes from parents with their children, especially when their children get to the age where they can now make money. But here's the thing, I don't have mercy for you. If you you had me to be able to support you in the old age, I'm sorry, you took a gamble. And as we've agreed, gambles you can win or you can lose. And if you lost, I'm sorry, don't put that on me. But I also feel like this second confession, you guys tell me, but I feel like they're really, the victimhood is crazy, as well as, what do they say? It's that quote, comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, the minute you start comparing, you're going to fall behind. Because I promise you, there's someone who's bigger than you, greater than you. Like, there will always be someone who's doing way better than you. So are you willing to just sit and compare? And the way you've sat in this, what is it called? You've just sat here where my degree is useless. Honestly, a psychology degree in 2025 is useless. I don't know. I don't, like, you can even create content on TikTok with what you know. I do not know. Like, I felt like this entire, I could say it was a rant because I've cut it short. This is like, I think, a quarter of it. All of it, and it was just like, my family doesn't have, I wasted time, I want an MBA. And who's told you with an MBA you'll get a job now? Because I feel like this is something off here. Like, who told you with an MBA now you'll get a job? I also haven't. Okay, I don't know what you meant there, Dolly Art, but you're saying, I haven't used my degree and I can see the frustration on my mom's face. Lakini sasa tutafanya nini? Should we cry? Ama tuchemshe soda? Kwa sababu sasa, what do we do? Chari Jire, is it Chari or Cherry? Chari Jire, you're saying, hey darling to you too. Umechelewa. Tuko karibu kufunga podcast, but welcome. If you are just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast on our TBC Radio, coming to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. with yours truly, Olive Orao. And today we are discussing, can you afford standards when you are desperate? The privilege of respect, that is. And we have discussed in the first hour a couple of things, like even right now we've just had a confession. And in the confession, I'm also thinking there's a lot of something that Dolly had brought up in the first hour, which is learned helplessness. You are just constantly helpless. Someone will do something to you. Your excuse will be, they didn't give me because they thought I looked poor. They didn't give me because my dress has beaten. And so you buy a new dress. This idea of always being the victim. And now this confession that I've read, she keeps saying, I just need an MBA. Will an MBA now get you the job? Will it? Because at this point, with this attitude that you have, I do not know. And also, you're just 21 years old. Like, try and be positive. Anyway, Sharijiri, you're saying, how much did you get the pod set for? Please help. I need one. Oh, this is the FIFA KS1. I got it from Shuffle PCs. It goes for 13,000, if I'm not wrong. Yes, the mixer plus the microphone, a condenser mic, and all other whatevers. There's also a stand I'm using for my phone, which I got from Shuffle PCs as well. But usually I have Shuffle PCs in the description. So I usually have tagged the store, and you can just go and check them out. And I also have a review online on my YouTube. So whenever you are there, I'm yet to upload the KS1, the one I'm using right now. I'll do the review. Hopefully by the end of this week, I'll put it up. But yeah, so 13,000, right about there. Let's do 20,000 for the entire set if you want the stand as well, the lighting. I'm using lighting, but Kenya Power has done its thing. So yes, I would say maybe 20k. Let's do that for the setup I'm using currently. But I can give you more information like outside of this. Dolly Art, you're also saying a degree in psychology is not useless. I thought so too. I have a major in literature and a minor in psychology. Oh wow, I didn't know that. And it's very relevant. I think that baby is confused and her self-belief and confidence is down. Honestly, her self-esteem is in the pits. She needs to pick it up. I don't know, dust it, wash it, dry it out, and try and use it again. Because earlier on when I was reading it, I was like, okay, she's going through a lot, but but then now I'm reading it and I'm just like, you're very victim. But anyway, if you're just coming in, we are discussing the privilege of respect. Can you afford standards if you are desperate? When you go into someone's job and they tell you, guys, you gotta, the things I know right now, I had people eating poop in Kilimani. I know. At the end of the day, it has to be money. What is it called? Potty? What was that? The girls who were going to Dubai. Potapo. That one. Where it's like sex work. And I'm just thinking, also, even as we're talking about all these things, isn't self-respect subjective? What I would consider self-respect is not what you'd consider self-respect, because as we were talking about in the first hour when I mentioned I gave the example of maybe you've gone for a job somewhere and this man tells you, you gotta get on your knees and it's not to pray. And in that moment, for someone else, you getting on your knees so that you can get that job or that money, at the end of the day, that's, you had to do what you had to do, and that's some sort of respecting yourself, like just knowing this is work, I gotta do this for this right now, and when I come out, I have my whatever, the way I operate intact. Does that count to self-respect? And there's someone who'll be like, I can't do that, let the money stay, sawa me, I walk out. Doesn't that person also have self-respect? Because I feel like self-respect is very subjective. And we had I'm trying to remember her name. Was it Samri? Yeah, but we had someone in the first hour who also said that you can't, they both feel like you can't, self-respect and desperation cannot coexist. You have one or the other. But can't you be desperate and respect yourself? But anyway, when we're talking about desperation and disrespect, in African homes, shame begins at home. That one we know. In African homes, what sort of job do you have? What is the income you're bringing in? And we've seen how people who have money get treated back at home and people who don't have money. And a lot of times, even in the African setup, the person who doesn't have money or means is the one who will cook. You'll cook, you'll shughulikia, even put their water in the bathroom for them. You'll do everything for the person who has money, sometimes even if they are younger than you. So we have seen that dynamic, and this idea of being desperate and still choosing to have standards. Like, I'm not going to do that for you. Like, I know I'm at a point of desperation. I'm not going to do that for you. But is it something... can the two coexist? Can the two coexist? And also, if you're supporting it, is it not an obligation? If you're, let's say you're paying... let's say you're paying black tax. That's why here you're paying black tax. There are people you're supporting. Sorry, my train of thought kidogo. There are people you are supporting, and that is why you feel the pressure to always like have, let's say, have money or have this opportunity. So you find yourself really what is it called? Compromising on what you're willing, on disrespect. A lot of times you compromise on disrespect just so you can get the money because you have people relying on you. But I also want us to realize that this is easier said than done. But even if you're supporting, it's not an obligation unless the person you're supporting is your child. I'm sorry, this is a difficult truth to hear. I know you're supporting. I know your mother is very important to be supported. I know your father is very important to be supported. I know it is you who's holding your siblings. But at the end of the day, if these people didn't come out of your coochie, or they didn't come out of your, what is it called, testicles, it's not an obligation. It is not an obligation. What you're doing, that pressure you have put for yourself where you need to provide for these people, you've put it because you want to. But it's not an obligation. That no one forces you, no one tells you that you have to provide for these people. So unless these people are your children, they genuinely are not, you are not obligated to provide for them. Also, risk has no shortcut. You'll have to take the risk whether you have cushion or not, because that's the main point that we're discussing in the It's Related, I Promise episode, where we were like, okay, Murugi Muni can move the way she moves because she's Murugi Muni can move the way she moves because she has a rich husband, she has cushion. And some people who come from privileged homes also move mad because they know I have a higher risk appetite, because when I fall, there's cushion at the bottom, there's someone who's put a mattress there. But also, then what advice do we give to people who don't have cushion? Do we just tell people that you can't afford to risk, so therefore just stay where you are staying? Reggie, you are saying hapo kwa respect, you just need to know as an individual how much you can take, how much you can take in. Hata kama sina option, desperate is not something one should have kwa hii dunia. And yes, that is so true. But now, it is not something that we should have, but it already exists. People will use you proper. Yes, I agree with you, Reggie. And here is the thing. Actually, you bring in a very good point, because then that brings us into the discussion of when people, now when, let's get away from now you yourself. When people clock you're desperate, when a bad person clocks you are desperate, how utapendelea? Because I realized even my biggest asset when I was moving jobs, when I was going for interviews, when I go and meet people, is that people never know when I'm desperate. Even when I am, I will not look it. The way they say, don't look like your problems. Dress up, ebu, osha uso, pack a Vaseline, look good, glow out here. So I think when people learn, yes, that's a very good point. When people learn that you are desperate, they will push the limits. And people like testing limits. You guys, have you worked in corporate? People like to test limits. I mean, this is why I do not negotiate with boundaries. Especially, like, I know I've struggled with boundaries, like in personal life, with my friends, with my family. But at work, I owe nobody nothing. I came for war. So at work, I usually set those boundaries very fast. You will never raise. I think there's a place that I even worked. Amy, I worked for many Chinese companies. There's a place where I worked where this boss would go around shouting out to people. He'd go around shouting, yeah, yeah. He'd even tell people, fuck you, fuck you. This man would fix his tone immediately he'd get to my desk. He'd fix his tone. Because I tell you for a fact, you will not me who when a car hoots on the road, I went to run. I don't respond well to noise. Leave me alone. He would change his tone. And I was like, people know, and people treat you how you allow them to treat you, because I could see it. I could see in multiple places where I've worked, I've seen people being treated different and I get treated different. But also in a place of work, I'm also like, we all came here differently. I can fight for our rights as a collective. I can be like, we need salary raises, we need overtime to be paid for this and that. There are things I can fight for in general. But let me tell you, when I see you being talked to the way they want to talk to you and you're not speaking up about it, I'm not going to come and talk on your behalf. That's your battle. That's for you to fight. That's for you to choose what's respect for you and how you want to be addressed. So in that particular situation, I think, oh, Getty, hi. My sister has joined my live for the first time. I don't even think she knew I had a live. And thank you. So I feel like you allow people to treat you the way you want them to treat you, and people will test limits. And if you're very keen, observe people. Just observe how people treat you. Today, someone will come and tell you, can you move this cup to your desk? And then you'll move it to your desk. The next day, this person will come and tell you, can you take this cup to the kitchen? And then you'll take it to the kitchen. The next day, that person will tell you, can you wash the cup? Then you'll wash the cup. The next day, that person will tell you, can you go wash the cup and bring it back to me? You will do just that. So at the end of the day, I hope you don't meet bad people before you get a, like, good self-esteem and all of that. Anyway, it's not even self-esteem. Me, I just know I'm not going to take disrespect even when I had low self-esteem. Even when I had low self-esteem. Oh, you're saying, Leo, nimekumbuka kuvaa black. Yes. Hey, the OGs know. You know, sometimes I'm wearing like a bright color and then the text on my phone is also white. So sometimes I really struggle like reading the comments on the screen. But yeah, I've remembered. You don't have to rub it in Doliat. Please, do better. Be nice to me. But anyway, if you are just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast, and it comes to you on our TBC Radio every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. with yours truly, Olive Orawo. And in case you missed the live action here, do not worry. You can find it from tomorrow onwards on buyolive.com. The link is in my bio. The episodes are only 75 Kenyan shillings, and this is because it accumulates to 300 shillings per month, and that is how you basically get to support the podcast so that we can keep running, okay? We are here. There's something we had a slogan for season 4. We are because you are. Yes, the In All Honesty podcast is because you are. Literally, this podcast is running on people who love and support and show up every other time. So I am super grateful. And today we were discussing the privilege of respect. Can you afford standards when you are desperate? Can you be desperate? You really need to feed children. You really need to pay fees. You need to do all these things, keep shelter over your head, but still tell someone, hapo sasa ni madharau, because I have seen, there's this time when we went to, the first time I went to, not even the first time, the only time I've been to Rwanda, and because we don't know the currency exchange, we give this person money. I don't know, there's Rwanda, they think we give him in the Rwanda currency, and he just returned it to us. He was like, no, just take your tip, no thanks. So I can't remember, because I think there were a lot of moving parts, so I can't remember. I can't remember when we converted the money, how much it came to, but maybe we gave him such little money, but he was just like, imagine kanayo, because sometimes, you know, those situations where someone has given you something, and you're just like, so, hey, what am I to do with this? Like, and not get me wrong, like in certain situations, like when you're putting together, let's say, burial, when you're putting together these medical fees that zinahitaji mchango, that one, please put in any money at all. Even charity, please put in any money, because that's something I learned from Usikimye, because I always felt like I don't have money to give to charity. I don't have, like, it won't make an impact. But there's this time Usikimye did a very good breakdown, and they were like, if you send 50 shillings, it feeds one child for like lunch. If you send 150, it feeds 3 children, like that. So that breakdown made it so easy for me, and I was like, okay, cool. Even 20 shillings like feeds one child for a day. Like it feeds one meal for one child a day. So that like changed my mentality on charity and basically helping. So when it comes to like medical cover, matanga, charity, give all the money that you can get. But when it comes to this, when we're talking about desperation, sometimes someone gives you like maybe like maybe wait, I know corporates. Have you seen corporates announcing for we want an intern, and then they go ahead to list JD, a general manager, and then it's just like, oh, are you paying, guys? Are you paying people money? And no, there's opportunity. They don't even tell you they're not paying. There's opportunities for growth. You will get to learn. You will be are you paying me money? And can I afford to have standards? Can I say I don't want to take an internship because I want to make money? Because I feel like millennials, we were really plagued. Millennials were plagued by the intern industry. It was just like, you need to work, you need to prove yourself so that they can absorb you. I don't know if anyone else has gone through that experience. You need to work, they see what you have to offer so that they can absorb you into the system. And let me tell you, companies fed off millennials intern. Free labor. Millennials have provided free labor for years. And it was just like, you need to prove yourself, Can I afford to say, imagine me, I don't want internship. And I've seen it even back at home when like younger people have finished school and they're like, no, me, I want a job that pays. I won't take internship. Now, anangaliwa in the sense that, you don't even have a job, like you're desperate, you can't afford to have standards. And sometimes you see how someone refuses a particular job because it just doesn't fit maybe it doesn't fit what they're looking for. And it's just like, you don't have a job and you're choosing what job to do. So I feel like these are things that we get to experience. Can you afford to have standards when you are desperate? And in the first hour, we have discussed that some people are saying that desperation cannot exist with self-respect. You have to choose one. If you self-respect yourself, then you can't be desperate. And also some of the things that we've discussed in the first hour is my experience in corporate, where I went through, I was moving mad. I have always stood on rights. Every place I've ever worked, I've stood on rights. And that is what has really gotten me at loggerheads with the management all the time. They don't want to give us the rights, and also these rights that I so fight about. Then when it comes to the person who is doing maybe menial jobs for me, when now it is flipped and I am the employer, am I providing the people I have employed with the same working conditions? Is it a healthy place to work at? Am I offering them respect? Are they desperate? In this case, maybe it's your mama fua or your gardener. Are you treating them the way you'd want to be treated if you were the one who was getting hired? As well as I used to quit a lot. That I've also I felt like maybe I used to quit jobs because even if I felt like home wasn't a place to go back to, maybe in my subconscious I had a home to go back to. And that was something that maybe in my subconscious made me take that risk, even if I couldn't recognize it very well. And for some people, maybe home is not an option. Even if you say home is not safe, at the end of the day, there's a structure somewhere where people are not paying rent and there's people who have the same blood that are living in that house, and you can call it a home. So at the end of the day, is that a privilege that you have in your subconscious that you just do not recognize? And for me also, I say things always work out for me, and I find it very difficult to advise people because I am a lucky girl. Honestly, maybe too nifanikia me, I'm just like, I don't know how to explain this to other people because ni mko na swara, mimi niko na kismat. So things really work out for me. So I also feel I really struggle to tell people, go take a risk, just jump in the water, Me, every time I've taken like a huge risk, it just works out. So I don't know if I have niko na nyota. So I find it difficult to advise people because we've not been handed the same cards in life, right? And my last job, I actually held on to my last job longer. It wasn't disrespect, but now it was just sabotage. And I feel like with my last job, maybe I held on longer because home had become more and more distant. Yeah. Maybe with the first ones that I used to quit and move, at the time, even if I didn't recognize it, home still existed and it was like sort of an option. Maybe even if it wasn't in my conscious sense, maybe my subconscious could note that it was some sort of option, but maybe in this time when I was like in my last job, I knew home was not an option. It wasn't looking good. Home was not looking good. So I just knew maybe in that case, maybe my subconscious could clock that, and that is why I stayed there probably longer than after. I held on even when it was very risky for my mental health. And I also said maybe also in the beginning, I used to be very audacious because people related what I was doing to being audacious. I was very audacious because maybe also I was a nihilist at the time and I really had no purpose in life and I was heavily suicidal. So I didn't care. I was just like, what's the worst that can happen? I was moving on autopilot. What people interpreted as confidence was just me on autopilot. Honestly, I was just waking up, going da 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 da. I was asking questions. I didn't care what the repercussions were. So what people thought was confidence actually was just me being suicidal and waiting for the day I don't wake up from that bed. So maybe that was something that worked in my favor. And also we've talked about when dealing with now domestic workers. In Kenya, the way that sector is looking, a lot of them are desperate. And even in the first hour, we've discussed how, you remember SGR? In SGR, people were, that case was Kitambo. I don't know if anyone remembers it, where people were lined out, adults working at SGR, they were lined out and they were lying on the ground. Kiniki foodie, when you lie on your chest. And then there are Chinese going around beating them, like flogging them on the ass. And I'm just like, what level of desperation is this? You know, it's one thing when this is happening to 1 or 2 people, but if there's 60 of you lying on the ground waiting for your turn, or you talk chapadi, the 20th person, the 40th person, you're still sleeping on the ground, that tells you the level of desperation that is there when it comes to looking for money. And when we say desperation and self-respect cannot coexist, then what are we saying? All these people who are desperate, then they have to give up on self-respect or whatever they have to do to get this money to come in. Do we just conclude that as lacking self-respect? And also lastly, we've discussed, it's related, I promise, on the last on the episode where they had Murugi Munyi and Mike Mushiri. The discourse that came from that was Murugi Munyi can move the way she moves because she has cushion. But then again, we've discussed and we've asked, so if you don't have cushion, what should we tell you? What should we tell you? Don't take risks, because we've all agreed that for you to know what's on the other side, a risk has to be taken. Everything will go, a risk has to be taken. That is for a fact, for you to know what's lying on the other side, whether failure or success. Either one, you have to take the risk. And we've had people like, I think, is it Olal who said he takes calculated risks. So for some people, they decide to do it very categorically, like you calculate and you know, I can dip my foot this far, feel how deep the water is, be ready to invest this much, I am willing to lose this much if it goes, if it comes back, then we're good, and then we take this other step. So it's different for different people, but also we're just wondering, when it comes to the idea of standards and desperation and respect, is that a privilege? Is respect really a privilege? And me looking at it from the African sense of it, the way they treat people in the family who have more than others, that tells you have to have money to buy it. Even when you're going to places, I've been organizing an event for a while now, and this, like, if you're going into particular spaces and the way they treat you, honestly, I don't understand the people who, when they go to a hotel, they're treated badly, and then they're like, I want to pay this bill to prove them a point. In fact, I'm going to order for the most expensive drink or food. Me, if you show me the slightest disrespect, I leave. I will not spend my money where I'm disrespected. I put my money into your system. Are you mad? So yeah, that's the other thing. Like, are you also the kind of person who's very combative? I want to prove a point. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't know. Okay, that I was relating to that to how you've seen people being treated. Why I'm saying money buys respect is how you've seen people being treated in particular spaces where you go, maybe a place that's usually full of white people. Have you seen how they treat Africans? I don't know why they think Africans are desperate, but anyway. As someone who's a huge tipper, I really tip, and I tip generously. So when I see you treating Abovogo better than me because you think are they poor, nonsense. Anyway, Reggie _ doing things, you're saying, I also feel we all have some sort of unfair advantage. Okay, you just need to find it and use it to your advantage. Thank you very much. This really affirms me. To some, Kama Olive, it could be luck. Some the audacity, some don't have black tax. Yes, we all have different privileges. Just be able to identify it. And the way we've seen the second confession here, we've realized there's something, I don't know whether it was Reggie or it's Dolly Art who said, there's also learned helplessness. There's desperation, and then there's learned helplessness. There's desperation where I really need to get this, but there's also people who are constantly in the victimhood. Try and introspect and see if you're a constant victim, where someone will tell you, I can't give you this, and instead of thinking, they didn't give me because I wasn't able to do the job, you're thinking, they didn't give it to me because I come from a single parent home. I beg, rest. You're now old, you're now the parent. Can you make a home for someone else now? And Reggie also saying, some started careers with good salaries. Yes, the privileges are different and can afford to save. For I always find something to do, either casual or formal. I am always working. I don't take that for granted. Yeah, so we all have different strengths. Yes, that's a very good point to end it at. We have different strengths. Identify what yours is and then lean on it major. Because I think I've had moments where I was in a point where I just didn't know what to do. I felt like let me tell you, desperation is constriction. You feel like your heart is, yeah. But at the end of the day, when, what is it called? At the end of the day, there are steps that I've taken where I'm just like, I'm a lucky girl. Nothing bad has ever happened before. And then I jump. So yeah, learn where your privileges are and then take advantage of them fully. And here's the thing, when you can, whether you're going to take calculated risks, whether you're going to jump into the deep end and just learn to swim in that heavy current, whatever it is, just learn that risk has to be taken. I hope that's the takeaway today. Risk has to be taken. It doesn't matter what it will look like, you'll have to take risk. And I know you could be in a space right now where you are you're stuck. You're just like, if I dare gamble this. And sometimes I know that for other people are relying on you. So when you're gambling, there's collateral damage, and that's what's most scary for you. So I understand that, but also just have it at the back of your mind. Always remember, for you to know what's on the other side, you have to take the risk. You have to jump in. You'll have to try that thing. And as for disrespect and desperation, there I really don't know. And as I think it was Reggie who said, you'll have to calculate. There are some you will take, there are some you will not take. It's just the same way when you're working. Like sometimes with clients, there are clients who I enter the meeting and I just know, imagine I'm not taking this job. It's fine. But there are jobs where I go in and you're just like, the client will do some things to you and you just so you also like get to pick your battles. The way Jules says, pick your hard. Pick whatever it is you're choosing to deal with. And a lot of times, as I've said as well, I really struggle to give people opinions or to give people suggestions or advice because things really work out for me. Honestly, there are things that have fallen on my lap and I can just say, I can't stand here and say other people are lazy, other people don't know how to strategize. Some of us are lucky, some of us things have come easier to us. So it's I still struggle with telling people what to do, but I can give you insight. I can tell you what I have done before, see if there's something similar to your situation right there and see if it's something that you can look into. But basically, that is it. If you're just coming in, Nyambeki, Tunanzanga 7. You're very welcome. If you're just coming in, this is the In All Honesty podcast coming to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on TBC Radio with yours truly, Olive Rao. And today we were discussing the privilege of respect. The privilege of respect. And can you afford to have standards when you are desperate? So we've had a whole 2-hour show. Do not worry if you've missed the live action right here. From tomorrow onwards, you'll find the full uncut episode on buyolive.com. The episode goes only for 75 Kenyan shillings. Only. That's how you get to support the podcast. And for last week we had a glitch, so the audio wasn't so good, but we have a discount on that podcast. Also, if you like to watch video, you can subscribe to our YouTube. My YouTube is Olive Orawo, and you'll get the membership is around $2.75. That comes to around $300 as well. For all the episodes, you'll get them throughout. But also for the second half of the episode, we usually have a 2-hour show. So the second half, which is the podcast, part of the episode, you'll find it where you stream your podcast. So that is on Spotify, Amazon Music, AfriPods, where you get your podcast, you'll find the second half. But if you want the entire 2-hour show, unadulterated, uncut, unedited, you will find it on buyolive.com for only 75 Kenyan shillings or on our YouTube membership for only 300 bob per month. Yes, that's right about it. And if you're wondering what is TBC, it's to be confirmed. We were to come up with our name for our radio show. Up until now, have you guys helped me come up with one? No. Have I come up with one? No. Are we continuing? Yes. Was something suggested Tanzania Broadcasting Channel? Yes. We are going with anything that someone wants to guess. Honestly, it's a vibe here. But if you're just coming in, we are closing down on the conversation now. And Kenya Power has done me that thing. That's why my lighting is looking like this. But do not worry. From next week, maybe they want to do this to me. But I had everything charged. Kujipanga. Vile tumesema, women are always thinking how they can do everything and men can just up and leave. Because anyway, catch the full podcast episode. We've discussed so much. But until next time, this has been the In All Honesty podcast on TBC Radio Show with yours truly, Olive Orawo. This comes to you every Monday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on Instagram Live. And if you missed the live action, you can find it on buyolive.com for only 75 Kenyan shillings. Or you can find the podcast part of the episode where you stream your podcasts, whether on Spotify, on AfriPods, really anywhere else. And thank you so much for joining. Since we don't have power, I won't have music to let you go with. But what we started this show with was New Lamp by Mali. Mali is Mali, and usually we play the kidogo part of it here. and then you go and add it to your playlist because we don't have copyright, right? But that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and you'll find it from tomorrow onwards, where we usually find our podcast episodes. Also, watch out on just my IG, my socials. I usually post out what is it called, like a teaser, so then you know it's up, then you can go and download it, or you can go and stream it. But thank you so much. Reggie, you're saying this was so interesting and fun to start my day. Thank you for holding such conversations. Always, always, always. The In All Honesty podcast is because you are, and I love it. Irene, thank you, and good day. Thank you to you too, and have a lovely day. Have a lovely, lovely week as well. But until next Monday, 7 to 9 a.m., the In All Honesty podcast on TBC Radio with Oliver Rao. Bye. Poetry Doliat. Thank you. Bye.